DJ Z-Nyce back with another episode of TDT Top Down Talks. And you know how we do on Top Down Talks. We riding in the drop, the 72 Delta 88. And we got somebody special, like I always say on TDT. We got none other than my dog, Jecorey author in the building, man. AKA 1200, AKA the coolest in the world, Craig. AKA the one that's making a difference out here in these streets, man. So come with us as we take a ride and check out a couple of murals and check out the city and chop it up with my dog, Jecorey. Let's go. What's going on, you all, man? TDT, another episode of TDT. How y'all feeling today, DJ Z-Nyce? I got none other than somebody special, like I always say, because if you ride in the whip, the 72 Delta 88, right here, man, on Top Down Talks, you gotta be special to me. So I got my guy, Jecorey, author in the building. How you feeling, man?
I'm blessed, bro. Thank you for having me.
No problem, man. I've been trying to link up with you and get you on the show. We had to get our schedules together, but we finally did, and I'm honored to have you on the show. We're about to ride past somewhere special before we, get into the show. So where am I going? He's gonna give me a little directions, y'all. Where am I headed to?
Let's see. So we got to get to, I think it might be 10th.
10th Street?
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get to 10th Street. We gotta make a couple blocks and come back up so we can see something special, man. My guy's on a mural, man. How you feeling today?
Man, I'm just blessed to be alive, bro. Had a family. Keep them safe, keep them close. On a little summer break right now, I teach at Simmons.
Okay.
So we ain't got classes, but I'm doing some projects over the summer with them. We just had State of the People that was in town, so a national tour,
saw that.
National political tour. I just saw Kendrick and SZA.
Hey.
Yeah, my lady took me up to Chicago, so I'm like feeling all inspired, creative.
Hey, my friend sent me a video of that show, and he did like a Anita Baker mix with something else, bro. Crazy.
I think it was with Mad City.
Listen, bro, crazy, to the point to where I saw the clip, went home and tried it instantly.
I love that.
Because I'm like, yo, you know what I'm saying? That's what I like. We were just talking about music and stuff a little bit early, but speaking of music, Jecorey also goes by another alias, and that's where I met him, man. That's where we, first got introduced at. And that alias is 1200, man. So can we start this interview off with that? I feel like you said earlier it was 2014. We was at a headliner show.
Yes, sir.
Let me just start it off, because that's not how I like to do on the show. You feel me? So we was at headliners. I like to tell my little stories. Boom. You know how they make a sound effect, so boom. So we at headliners. So I'm with Jalen Rose, James Lindsay. You feel me? And he's performing, and we practiced and rehearsed. We practiced and rehearsed all day. I'm his DJ. He has a band. He's doing his thing. So we see somebody else practicing and rehearsing, and that's this guy, right? So we see a little bit of his practicing and rehearsing. And I'm already looking. I played sports. I played football. So you know how you like about to warm up?
Yeah.
And the other team comes out, and they warm up, and it's like, yo, they're getting ready, and it's like, man, their uniforms are clean. Like
Yes,
man, they're
sir.
huge. Like, you see the running back? You see their cleats? That's what I felt like when I saw this guy. I'm like, man, they so organized. It was like a well-oiled machine, like doing their things. So fast forward, let me not be long-winded, so boom. The show goes on. When I tell you I was front row looking at this man's show, and I'm like, yo, he different. This is early Kanye, and I don't want to compare him to Kanye because he's his own different person, you know what I'm saying? But that was the only thing I had to compare you to on the artistic way that you put your show together. And I always remember that about you, man. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, you took a turn, I guess, definitely for the great and for our people and for the community.
Absolutely.
Am I right about that? So can we speak on that? Let's speak on the 1200 show and the turn that you took for our community and what you're doing now.
Smack DVD.
Hey.
I used to watch like Smack DVD, especially the battles at the end. Okay. So I'm like just coming from the battle culture, the competitive nature of making hip hop. And I didn't know what everybody else had planned. We had Jalen on the show, Dundiff was on the show, Birzu was on the show, Skyscraper Stereo was on the show, Jack Harlow played with Dundiff.
He did.
So I just went into it like, I don't care who's on the lineup. I'm finna, bite some heads off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can get it.
So
you can get it.
I'm a classical musician. Ye definitely inspired me.
Okay.
But I actually studied music and learned to play all the instruments and learned to read and taught music. So it was always a blessing for me to take hip hop and then fuse it with what I learned in college. And that was an example of what that was. Just, bringing people from different worlds, having what we call class solidarity. It don't matter if you black, white, you know what I mean, you unemployed or you working a corporate job. We're gonna bring you together and show people how to be creative and do something different and do something fresh.
You definitely did something creative and fresh, bro, with what you did, bro.
Thank you,
Like,
man.
I'm not gonna front, you know what I'm saying?
you.
But what instrument did you play as a classic trained musician?
I'm a percussionist.
Okay.
So a lot of people, when they think of percussion, they think of just drums, but vibraphone, marimba, xylophone, timpani, all of that. I had to learn how to play it. And then I studied music education, so I had to learn how to play every other instrument too, because I'm, certified to teach it. And that's what I do now at Simmons College of Kentucky.
Hey, that's what's up, man. So 12, I call him 1200, but I also call him Jacory sometimes when I see him, man. I love seeing you out with your kids. We also link up, not necessarily link up a lot, but we'll see each other out with our kids, man.
Yeah.
You might be at the park or something, doing your thing, you know what I'm saying, and we say what's up and show love. But one thing that I love to see you do is what you're doing in the community. And right now we stopped. This is the first time, we really stopped on TDT, and we're stopping in front of this mural that I want to show you all, man. All right? So we're going to get out and let y'all get some footage of this mural from my guy.
All right, let's do it.
This mural, man, can you tell me about this mural? Because I see somebody super important to this city of Louisville, Kentucky. Miss Breonna Taylor, rest in peace, Miss Sandra Bland. A lot of fallen soldiers right here on this mural. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so this mural was done back during the uprisings in 2020. And really it was just supposed to be like a symbol of remembrance. Breonna Taylor, born, raised in Louisville. She got killed in Louisville by our local police department, but she's one of so many other people who suffered the same thing. Of course, Sandra Bland, Ahmaud Arbery, he was actually killed by somebody who used to be a police officer who was doing a so-called citizen's arrest. George Floyd, these are people who were just living life, everyday people. And unfortunately, they got killed by the people who are supposed to be protecting and serving us. So this mural is just remembrance of them. Every time I ride past it, I'm thinking about the movement in 2020, the protests, the policy we worked on, all of that.
Protests, man. Speaking of policies and some of the things you worked on, I actively saw you outside when I turned on my TV, man. I actively saw you really boots on the ground with everybody out here trying to make a change in what was going on day in and day out. Can you speak a little bit of how that was around that time?
Absolutely. In the movement for justice, everybody got a role to play. I've seen you out at countless events, community events, giving us a soundtrack. We need joy. We need ways for people to come together and be in community. And we also need protests. And the protest was just one way to raise awareness around the issue. Breonna Taylor is one person who got killed. George Floyd is one person who got killed by police. But in that same year, over 1,000 people got killed by police. And we don't talk about that a lot. And since 2020, those deaths have increased. So we need protests to raise awareness, but also so we can provide pressure to the people who are in elected office, who have the power to make decisions to change the outcomes of what happened with them. So Breonna Taylor was killed because the police were serving a no-knock warrant. And that same year, we were able to pressure the Metro Council to ban no-knock warrants. George Floyd was killed with a chokehold. That same year, Minneapolis, the state, banned chokeholds. So every time there's an injustice in our city, in our state, in our country, there's an opportunity to change the outcome of that. There's an opportunity to make sure nobody is ever killed in the same way that Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, or Ahmaud Arbery is killed. And that's the work that we do.
Definitely a word, man. I got a question for you. How do you feel about what's going on right now, man, in our world? I feel like it's a little flashback of 2020 every time I cut on my TV sometimes of like the protesting going on. How do you feel about in which ways we should protest?
Coretta Scott King might have said it best when she said that, justice was like a never-ending journey. And I think, looking at what's happening right now in 25, it definitely reminds me of 2020, but I'm hoping that we learn from 2020. I'm hoping that we learn from some of the mistakes we made, the lack of sustaining that movement. Because when I was on Metro Council, the further we got from 2020, the less, the politicians cared, the less they felt that pressure. So we got to keep that up. Not just when somebody get killed by the police or just when ICE is coming to snatch up people who are just trying to live and work and take care of their families. We got to keep that pressure up all year round. Earlier you talked about sports. You can't show up to a game without practice.
Definitely.
And a lot of times when we show up to protests out of nowhere because there's a moment of crisis, that's like showing up to a game without practice. So we got to be disciplined. We got to be militant. And when we show up, we got to show up informed. We got to show up well practiced, well rehearsed, so that we can be effective.
So what advice would you give somebody a little bit younger, man, so we can get a little bit younger boots on the ground in order to help us, no pun intended of the song. But and I like the song too. We don't have no fans, it's hot. But anyway, what advice would you give somebody younger to do what you did? Because when I see you made that change and that pivot, it motivated me. I'm gonna just be honest, like, bro, I saw it and I'm sitting back watching, I'm like, yeah, bro, if he could do it, let me do a little bit more in my community. How can I help? How can I be like, what type of service you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? And whether it's the soundtrack or them just saying like, hey man, we just need you here. Like I've been pulling up with my family and stuff, you know, to these different events. But hold on, let me backtrack a little bit. You did mention about something, the state of the
state of the people.
Man, can you speak on the state of the people? We had a lot of people come for that. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, so many people from around the country.
People. I feel like I saw he used to hoop for Jalen Rose was in town.
Yep. The other Jalen Rose.
Yeah, the other Jalen Rose. Yeah. With Angela Rye as well.
Yep.
Yeah, man, at Simmons College.
Mallory. Yeah, folks came through. So they're doing this national tour, going to different cities, trying to get people to share their stories, share their struggles, making a record of everybody's experiences right now with the current presidential administration, and trying to use that again to provide pressure and organize our community. Because really everything we've gotten in this country, we had to fight for it. Whether we're talking about abolishing slavery, abolishing segregation, we had to go to the streets, we had to go to churches, we had to build in our communities and organize and fight back the system that was really meant to hurt us.
Yeah.
We had to turn that around and make it work for us. So I'm proud to be a part of that tour. They came to Louisville, they came to Simmons College of Kentucky, our local HBCU.
Shouts out Simmons College.
Shout out to Simmons. And we just built, we had a couple days of healing, arts and culture. We had classes. I taught a workshop on freedom schools and political education. That was just a way for people to learn. It's a political education course. It happened over 60 years ago in Mississippi. But last year at Simmons, we started to do them because, before people can take action, they got to be informed, because if you're not informed when you take action, not only can you be ineffective, but it could also be dangerous. People can get hurt.
Definitely agree with that. I feel like a lot of times people don't know, so that's why you don't really probably get as much help as you want, or they're just kind of like, I'm gonna just be honest about myself, man. I seen it coming. I'm like, I don't know. All you can do is ask how you can help. But I also seen it was, not necessarily intimidated, but a little bit, because I'm thinking like, oh, I don't know what we're doing over there. And probably all it takes is just asking.
Facts. Just
asking somebody like you. He's definitely really approachable, dog. Cool as a fan. And don't see him out at a show or something like that. He's definitely gonna be bopping, enjoying the music. All whatever. But if somebody did approach you, you know what I'm saying, what would you say on kind of like, look, Jecorey, man, I want to help. What could I do?
So there's really 3 simple steps. I think they're simple, but they might be hard for some folks. Number 1, you need to figure out what your skills are. And for me early on, that was I'm a musician. So how can I use music to bring people together, to raise awareness around these issues, use music to pressure decision makers and elected officials? You're a musician yourself, you DJ, and like I said, I've seen you out at community events. That could be your contribution. We're also fathers. Yeah. So maybe you could be a mentor to somebody who's a new father. Maybe you can be a mentor to kids who ain't got no father in our community. So figure out your skills. What are your skills? And that also brings us to number 2. What are you passionate about? Okay. Figure that out. And then number 3, find who's working on what you're passionate about. There are countless organizations in the city that are always working.
Can you name a couple?
Always working. Black Lives Matter Louisville is always building. Push Louisville. Push stands for People United for Social Housing. We got a bunch of different labor organizations that are organizing all year round. I'm personally in the local musicians union. I'm in the American Federation of Teachers Union. How can you support a union? And if it means pulling up and playing music at the event, so be it. If you know how to cook and throw down in the kitchen and you want to help be a part of a potluck, so be it. If you love being at home and taking care of the family and watching the kids, or maybe you got experience at a daycare, you can watch the kids during the meeting. Everybody has a skill. Everybody has gifts they can contribute to our community. Not everybody's using those gifts and not everybody's contributing those. So the work is really getting more people to see their gifts and then giving those gifts to people. Because what good is the gift if you're not giving it to somebody else? Imagine if you had your music and you just spinning at the crib and you're the only person listening, it ain't gonna hit the same, bro. So it's important to take our gifts and give them to people. And that's how we make our community better.
Definitely a bar. So right here on TDT Top Down Talks, man, something that we like to do. I'm a car person. I like whips. We ride in the 72 Delta 88, Royale, convertible. And, the question I like to ask is, 3 cars, if you had a daily driver, what would your daily driver be? If you could pick an old school, what would it be? Or if you're gonna pick an exotic whip, what would your exotic whip be? First, class daily driver.
Daily driver. If I had a old school.
No, if you just had
just a regular whip.
Yeah, if you was like, man, I want to drive that Cadillac right there every day. What car would your daily driver be?
Man, you know what? When I was younger, I used to watch all the Fast and Furious movies. I still watch them because they still coming.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to know all the cars. I had all the models. And then like when I got older, everything just kind of left and I moved on.
You know, some of them are like $1 million, bro. Some of them cars.
Oh, I bet.
Like,
so I'm gonna describe some cars, and then one of them I'm gonna connect to something that we just talked about earlier. So, in any model of an SUV that's comfy, I need 3 rows. So me and the family and the little cousins can pull up somewhere, go to the park, go to the Science Center, Kentucky Kingdom. So any SUV that's gonna be spacious for me and the family. And then if I had an old school, this is why I mentioned Fast and the Furious. I didn't realize that it might have been the first movie. Vin Diesel, he had a GNX.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that until I'm like looking at the GN. I was gonna get a little Hot Wheel GNX for my son, and I didn't realize that. So when that GNX album came out, and I'm peeping Kendrick, leaning on the GNX, riding around the GNX, it's on the tour. I'm like, I remember that car. So if I had an old school, it'd probably be a GNX for sure.
Yeah, Kendrick Lamar go ahead with the price. He made them go up.
Oh, probably, yeah, the stock that went up. You keep doing this, bro, the stock's gonna go up on one of these, for
that's
sure.
That's the goal, man.
For
that's
sure,
the goal.
bro.
So what would the exotic whip be?
Man, I don't know, because when I think of exotic whips, I think of the fact that, like, I'm in the West End. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's where we at right now.
We in the West End with it, bro.
In the West End.
I ain't trying to, I ain't trying to raise no issues with nobody. So you see me out and about in my exotic, you might, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So
I feel you, man. Look,
give me something low key.
Low key. Look. You might see Jecorey in the mini Astro van. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Something
I'll take a mini van, bro.
Ain't nothing wrong with it, man. We just now passed up Hip Hop Sweet Shop, man. Treat Shop. We here in the West End, right here on TDT Top Down Talk. This is where I'm from. This is where you from.
Yes, sir.
And it's a wonderful thing, man. I just want to say we're giving you your flowers right now. We say it all the time, but I'm going to say it again, man. I appreciate everything that you do.
Thank
you were
bro.
definitely an example for me on figuring out what I wanted to do to help, you know what I'm saying, in the community of some type of way. Or even in church, man. Like, I ain't bragging on that, but I usher, and I like ushering.
I love that.
It's dope to me, you know what I'm saying? And when I went, like, somebody put me to the side, I ain't really think nothing of it, but he was like, man, I thank you for doing that, because I see you with your fam, and I see you, like, ushering, bro, and, like, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, and I didn't think about it like that. So you never know who you inspiring, man, by the decisions that you make, especially if they're good ones.
Absolutely. I know you put the membership through the roof. You go to church, the usher Z-Nyce, that's crazy.
Wear your Jordans too. Nah, we can't do that. We can't do that. But nah, man, once again, thank you. TDT Top Down Talks, another episode in the can, man. Get at me. Make sure you subscribe at DJ Z-Nyce. And if you promoting anything, if you got some merch you want me to rock, you got some, sunglasses or something that you getting out there, man, if I can help you, help me, man, let's make that happen. Follow me at DJ Z-Nyce. Where can I get at you at?
Jecorey Arthur, Jecorey Arthur. Bye.
You heard it. We out.